Hello everyone, I'm Mike DeAngelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings by Artificial Mind and Movement. Generally, when I review games that are multi-platform, I talk about them across the board. However, because of the jump in console generations, as well as one huge advantage, I'll be talking about the Wii version specifically in this review. Indiana Jones is no novice to games. He's been in dozens of them, and has spanned consoles of ages long past, from the Atari to the NES to the PC. The most recent Indiana Jones title, that doesn't feature the title character as a LEGO character, is the Staff of Kings. Does the game have the same less than the best reception of the latest film, The Crystal Skull, or is it a game that is so good it belongs in a museum? As most of the Indiana Jones stories begin, our favorite archaeologist is on the hind end of his last adventure. We begin in Sudan, and he's searching out a golden idol when the Germans interrupt him and demand the treasure. He gives in, but manages to escape them, all while explaining to the player just what it takes to be Indiana Jones. Most of Sudan is a tutorial stage, but you do get to see some cool elements of the story begin to play out. After you escape Sudan in a plane, the story takes an abrupt turn that puts you in San Francisco. You don't really get an explanation of why right away, and most of the story that follows is presented the same way. While the Staff of Kings has a fairly enjoyable story, it doesn't hold up to the traditional Indiana Jones fare. It relies far too much on the quirky nature of the series to really find the core structure of the franchise.
Wonder where that goes.
The game is unapologetically linear. They might as well have made it a 2D side-scroller. The melee fighting is alright, but it doesn't seem very much like an indie game should. In addition to this, the motion controls are a little touchy and can lead to some incredible frustration. One of the more positive things about the game is the gunfights, because you generally have to think a little more outwardly instead of just shooting at the enemies. Unfortunately, even after the enemies are beaten in certain situations, you're stuck on the same screen until you have an idea of what to do next. There are also a bunch of minigame type scenarios that unfold as you play, usually revolving around the motion controls. Unfortunately, like the other parts of the game, the controls end up hindering when they should be helping. For a third-party Wii game, the graphics are presented fairly well. It's nothing altogether too impressive, but it fits. Textures and character models look fleshed out, even if Indy doesn't quite look the part. The sound is hit or miss. The music is familiar and fun, but the sound effects and voice acting are not up to the task, although the voice of Indy is almost identical to Harrison Ford. It doesn't help that the dialogue is so unlike Indiana Jones. Even if it weren't an indie game, it'd be laughable, and not because it tries to be. Luckily, there are plenty of nods towards the movies, which help to drive the story forward. Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings is so linear that hardly anything will change from playthrough to playthrough. That said, you can still go through the game to collect artifacts to unlock certain bonuses like extra skins and trailers. In fact, one of the bonuses that they included in the game is such a whirlwind inclusion, it has the ability to sell the game by itself. One of Indy's old point-and-click graphic adventure titles, The Fate of Atlantis, is included in the game. One of the best things that the developer did was make the game unlockable fairly easily. This bonus is only available on the Wii, which definitely sets it aside from handhelds in the PlayStation 2. If you like Indiana Jones, the Staff of Kings doesn't do him justice. The game didn't destroy him like Lucas and Spielberg did in 2008, but it almost feels like blackmail. This is not the standard that has been established for Indiana Jones. Even stripped of its license, the game has its flaws, though it isn't entirely unplayable. However, bundled with a classic, this game could possibly garner your attention just long enough to enjoy one of the lost gems of years ago, and still find some enjoyment out of Indy's latest adventure. That's Entertainment awards Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings a score of 7 out of 10.